presentation for BISM 7217 regarding to the analysis we've done for Weezer. Weezer is an online lending company, and we wish to find out the key factors that affect borrowers' repayment status based on data sets we obtained from a similar company. This is an outline of the presentation structure. In the first section, we're going to talk about business objectives, including the background information of the company, its objectives, and why we think it's important for the company to know about default factors. The next section is an explanation of data, such as where we collected the data and what we've done to clean the data for preparation. Next section is model design, why we choose the decision tree over other methods, and how we design and finalize the model. Last but not the least, the analysis and output part. Online lending has become extremely popular over the past few years as it allows the businesses to gain access to loans more easily while providing investors with attractive return rates. This picture represents some of the biggest online lending companies worldwide. Weezer has been doing really good over the past few years, regardless of the fact that it's a newly established company. They've obtained $28 million new loans in first half year in 2019, which increased 441% compared to the same period last year. The revenue raised 59% since 2018 from $759,000 to $1.2 million. They have also launched Australia's first credit score comparison platform, bringing in more than 19,000 new users to the ecosystem. However, the rapid growth raised concerns, as Weezer has announced to lower their lending standards to attract young customers regardless of how their previous credit scores were. We believe it is important to understand what the factors are that affect the repayment status of the borrowers. Thus, we conduct the following research.
Now I'm going to talk about data description. We got the data from the website of RateSetter, which means it's from a public data resource. The original dataset we got has 15 attributes, which include about 30,000 examples in total, ranging from 2014 to 2018. As for the data cleaning, we began with checking missing value in rapid manner, and there is no missing value in our dataset. Next, we check the distribution of our numerical data by analyzing the statistic graphs. In addition, we detected abnormal records by viewing box plotting the visualization part of rapid manner. In result, none of our data is normally distributed, and although abnormal data exist, they are reasonable and can be explained, so we kept our dataset as it was. After that, we removed one duplicate by using the remove duplicates function in rapid manner. Finally, as part of the data preparation, we categorize the 6 repayment statuses into 2 groups to ensure the final result is clear and straightforward.
Let's talk about the design of the model. In our project, we chose RapidMiner software. RapidMiner has 4 major advantages. First, it provides predictive analysis and statistical computation. Second, it easily delivers the analysis report and the predict model. Third, it provides support for most types of databases. The last advantage is it allows visualization when exporting the results. Confusion matrix is a very useful methodology to measure the performance of model. For the decision tree, the accuracy is 95.23%. Precision is 99.82%. Recall is 95.32%. F measure is 97.1%. 52. After that, we used ROC curve to compare the performance among the naive Bayes, decision tree, and the rule induction. From the chart, it shows that the rule induction has the largest area under ROC curve, which has the best performance. The second is decision tree. The decision tree is a hierarchical model composed of decision rules that recursively splits independent variables into homogeneous zones. In our project, we chose decision tree model is because it is a simple and direct way to view the relationships between all variables. Second, it proved to be an efficient model for classification and prediction in huge amounts of real-world situations. Lastly, based on the confusion matrix and ROC curve, the accuracy of decision tree is considerably high.
This graph represents the flow of our decision tree model design. We first retrieve data after cleaning into the process, and then split the data into 70 and 30% for training and testing. We then run the data through decision tree model and apply model functions, and lastly change the settings for getting higher accuracy. This is a picture of the sequence of the design.
Now I'm going to talk about the different factors that would affect the repayment status of a debtor. First, we have the long term, that is referred to the length of the finance contract in months. Then we have the annual rate, that it refers to the annual interest paid by the borrower. After that, we find the finance amount, which is the total amount borrowed including capitalized fees and charges, while principal or standing refers to the amount still to be repaid. Finance purpose is another factor, and it answers the question what the model is for. After that, we find borrowed state, that refers to the location where the borrower is lives. Borrowed age, that is the age of the borrower. Employment status, that is referred if the borrower is an employee, self-employee, or if the borrower doesn't have any employment. Borrower income is referred to the gross annual income of the borrower at the time that entering the finance agreement. Housing status describes the housing status of the borrower. We also have the borrower gender and early payment made. That means that the borrower has made additional payments over and above those set out in the repayment schedule. Finally, we have the contract date, that refers to the date at which the borrower entered into the finance agreement. After identifying the different factors, we test the model by using different levels of granularity. We conclude that a granularity from 7 to 9 is more accurate, with 95.2% and 95.4%. Here we have the results of the decision tree with a maximal depth of 7. The accuracy of prediction on default and on schedule status are 90.7% and 95.3% respectively. To be more specific, among the 54 borrowers who were predicted to default on repayment, 49 of them failed to repay on time, and only 5 of them repaid within the required time. From 2,946 expected to pay on time, 2,800 did, and 138 of them default on repayment. In general, the precision of default expectation is slightly lower than the on-schedule prediction. This is because The data being fed for training the model to recognize default is significantly less than the data being fed for the unscheduled recognition. The accuracy of the default prediction would be the main concern of the model optimization in the follow-up research. This is our graphical outline of the decision tree model. According to our results, finance amount is the most essential factor that affects default status. 18% of the people has the light on their repayment schedule when finance amount is lower than $464, while only 4.5% has defaulted their repayments when the finance amount is higher than this amount. Under the category of finance amount being less than $464, annual rate becomes another factor. If the annual rate is as high as 4.9%, the default ratio reaches 100%, while under the case that annual rate is lower than 4.9%, the default borrowed accounted only 15.1%. In the case of finance amount is over $464, annual rate is the third most important factor. Early payment status is another essential factor that influences repayment status. Borrowers have made early payment. 1.2% of them failed to pay back on time, and among the ones who had not made any early payment, a higher rate of 7% could be defaulted. People who have made early payments are less likely to default. In addition, the borrower has not made any early payment. The principal outstanding becomes another criterion. The factor is categorized differently as matter of different finance amounts. If the finance amount is greater than $464, 4.5% of borrowers with outstanding principal that is greater than $11 has defaulted, while 27.6% has defaulted with outstanding principal of over $11. In the meantime, if the finance amount is less than $464, borrowers with outstanding principal over $43 has a lower default ratio of 4%, and the ones who lower than $43 account for 48% of all borrowers within the same category. In general, borrowers with less outstanding principals tend to default as a smaller amount can easily be forgotten or ignored. Here we have the result for our model with a maximal dip of 9. The results obtained for this decision tree are almost the same as the decision tree with a maximal dip of 7. However, we decide to run as is necessary as it explains the factors in more details, and it brings a higher accuracy.
To conclude, there are 4 key factors that we think are the most important to Visa's credit scoring system, which are finance amount, early payment, principal outstanding, and loan term. With finance amount and principal outstanding, surprisingly, our result shows that smaller amounts tend to have higher default rates. Thus, instead of only focusing on larger loans, smaller loans should also raise enough concerns. Moreover, according to the research, people who made early payments are less likely to default. There should be a rewarding system in Visa. Loan term is another important factor. The longer the loan is, the less likely it's paid off. Therefore, the company should make individual plans to keep checks on the loan term. Here are the references contained in this presentation, and thank you so much for